sorry to make you wait while I made my grand entrance. A pivotal moment in my great-grandfather's life was when he was blinded in an industrial accident when he was a young man working in a factory. He was a clever inventor as a young boy, and he was noticed by the University of Wisconsin, where he got his education, and he was successful in his work in business as an early day kind of efficiency expert. And he invented lots of things that made the factory more efficient and work better. But he was blinded in an industrial accident, and he lost his vision completely in his 20s. And he despaired that it would be a life-changing event and it would be a permanent thing. But over time, he slowly recovered his vision, staying in a dark room with his eyes covered. And when he regained his vision, he stepped out of doors and vowed never to return to the factory and never to turn his vision away from the glories of nature again. And that led to his first great wilderness adventure when he walked through the smoking ruins of the post-Civil War South in 1868 on the 1,000-mile walk to the Gulf. He was headed for the Amazon, but he was struck down by malaria and very ill in Florida when he reached Cedar Key after walking from Louisville, Kentucky, 1,000 miles through the South. And he didn't achieve his dream of getting to the Amazon until his later days, but it set up in motion a trip by ship to San Francisco, where he was overwhelmed by the raucousness of the post-gold rush city, and he asked a stranger how to get out of town. And the stranger said, "Well, where do you want to go?" And he said, "Anywhere wild." That's what we call an aspect of access adventure that I work with when we go on our trips far afield from our home base in Napa County and Solano County, where we seek the best places on earth, like this one that is now preserved by the National Park Service, a legacy of my great-grandfather. And we call these trips Anywhere Wild, because that stranger pointed out a town toward the direction of Yosemite, and John Muir started walking, and the rest is the history that we're celebrating here today. My great-grandfather was raised by a brutally strict father, and he raised his own children, including my grandmother, with a much gentler hand. My grandmother was homeschooled. She had 9 months of formal education at the Anna Head School before she entered the University of California at Berkeley, where she married my grandfather. And she raised her own children with a gentle and free hand to seek whatever adventure they were free to look for in life. My uncle John Muir Hanna was only 8 years old when he saddled up with my Uncle Strent, age 10, and their adopted brother, who had polio, age 11, and the three of them dried beef jerky and packed provisions and put their horses on the ferry across the Carquinez Strait and rode for the summer to Yosemite, where they made money racing their fast mare, match racing, and living off the proceeds of their winnings. And they were actors in an early Hollywood film that they were extras on horseback with Native Americans that were paid $1 a day, and when the boys went up to get their pay, they were offered 50 cents. And some man intervened on their behalf and demanded that they be paid $1 as well. And that financed their next year's trip north to Mount Shasta, where the three boys rode alone and spent the summer out in the wilderness enjoying the glories of nature, inspired by their grandfather John Muir. That that kind of gentle hand and an encouragement to explore our best natural places came down to me through my father and my mother, who were very encouraging of my passion for horses, which led to my life's work, breeding horses. And my own experience with disability, I've lived with multiple sclerosis since I was 15 years old, but my horses have been my partners in allowing me to get out into nature, and it's something that I enjoy sharing with other people, and it led to the founding of our program we call Access Adventure, and these wilderness trips we call Anywhere Wild. I'm traveling today with a young family that are two of our volunteers, and they have a newborn son that makes me think of all the ones that came before us and all the generations before us, from so-called civilized times to more primitive times, back to where we're lost in the midst of times, to the beginnings of all human beings. And I think of all the thousands of years that we've walked the earth, and how many of those years we lived closer to the natural world. And I think it defines us as humans to be closer to the natural world. And those of us that live today, these hundreds and hundreds of generations down the line, lost in the midst of time from the beginning of time, it's more important than ever that we remember and that we enjoy the embrace of the mother of us all, our Mother Earth, our Mother Nature, and that we have the opportunity to be a part of it. And for that we can thank the visionary people that brought the preservation of these wonderful places like the Redwood National Forest. Thank you.